Have you ever wondered why fate decreed that you were born in this particular month and not another? As if the very fabric of time chose this moment as the ideal one for your soul to enter the world. The great Carl Jung argued that nothing surrounding us at the moment of birth is accidental. Everything is filled with deep symbolism. The celestial vault, climatic conditions, the season, the dance of archetypes, all of this creates an invisible backdrop that leaves an indelible mark on our psyche. We are not talking about frivolous horoscopes from glossy magazines, but about living symbols, about collective images that shape not only our temperament but also the most secret challenges and potentials of our soul. Think about it. To be born in January is not the same as being born in July. Each month pulsates with its unique frequency. Each time represents a special portal. And the most striking thing is that many of the most mysterious traits of our personality can be understood by looking at the time of our birth. Carl Jung believed that our history begins long before words, and that the moment of birth contains invisible keys to each person's mission. Perhaps that is why in ancient cultures, birth was considered not just a physical act, but a sacred spiritual rite, a sign that the world needs something that comes with the newborn. What if your birth was exactly like that? What if you came into this world precisely when the universe needed what you carry within you? And what if the month that embraced you became the first teacher that your soul recognized on this earth? Stay with us, and you will learn many interesting things. This exciting study reveals the deep symbolic meanings of each month of the year as interpreted by depth psychology. The viewer will be able to penetrate the essence of recurring life difficulties and unexpected talents, as well as comprehend the incomprehensible but tangible part of their personality. Carl Jung argued that the unconscious rules over us like fate, but awareness is able to transform destiny. Perhaps such a moment of transformation awaits the viewer. Ahead is a journey into the depths of knowledge that the soul kept even before birth. Jung claimed that there is no room for chance in human existence. The soul chooses the moment of birth not according to the logic of time, but with the accuracy of symbols. In analytical psychology, time ceases to be just a series of events, turning into an archetypal field. Each period of the year, natural cycle and season, are filled with collective images that shape the psyche from the first moments of life. Birth is not simply an entry into a neutral space, but an immersion into a world woven from invisible meanings and significance. The environment, whether it be the play of sunlight or the energy of changing natural cycles, creates a symbolic field that enters into a silent dialogue with the newborn soul. Carl Jung called this phenomenon primary archetypal impressions, sensory and spiritual experiences that imperceptibly shape our perception of life. Summer heat, for example, can be imprinted as a symbol of courage and audacity, while winter cold predisposes to introspection and immersion in oneself. Spring awakens a thirst for renewal and new beginnings, while autumn brings with it detachment and readiness for transformation. Moreover, the cycle of 12 months, in its continuous dance with nature and the archetypes of the collective unconscious, forms a kind of mandala, a symbolic wheel that turns directly to the deep aspects of the human being. Jung viewed archetypes as universal models inherent in the human psyche, highlighting figures such as the warrior, healer, sage, divine child, destroyer, and lover. Each month of the year bears the imprint of one or more of these forces, which are manifested with particular intensity in those who were born under its patronage. Awareness of the moment of birth allows one to see, in the very fact of birth, a symbolic seal, a silent sign that influences talents, vulnerabilities, and even those life scenarios that a person steadily reproduces, sometimes without realizing the reasons. The goal is not to confine the personality into a rigid framework or limit self-identification, but to offer symbolic keys to understanding deep internal patterns of behavior that may have been felt since early childhood, but which have not yet been explained. Like Carl Jung, the author does not seek to provide ready-made answers, but rather seeks genuine questions, among which perhaps the most ancient, why was I born at this particular moment in time? We propose to go together through the symbolic wheel of the months of the year in order to perhaps discover in ourselves dormant parts of the personality, waiting only for reflection in a symbolic mirror to awaken. Birth is not merely an arrival into the physical world, it's a passage through a portal, a transition from an invisible realm into the human dimension of time, carrying a baggage that few can perceive, yet the soul senses from the very beginning. Carl Jung viewed birth as a sacred point on the path to self-realization, a moment when consciousness embodies itself in material reality, bearing archetypal predispositions destined to either flourish or wither, depending on the attention they receive throughout life. The advent of each new person is shrouded in symbolism, permeating not only the physical form, but also time itself. In depth psychology, time appears not just as a means of measuring the years lived, but as a unique mirror reflecting the collective unconscious. The month of a person's birth carries a specific symbolic aura, leaving an indelible imprint on their psychic structure. It's as if, at the moment of birth, a person inhales the archetypes inherent to that temporal cycle, and they, like invisible companions, accompany them throughout life, exerting a silent yet persistent and profound influence. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung emphasized that understanding the human soul is impossible without a deep comprehension of the symbolism of time. Ancient civilizations were well aware that each period of the year carries unique energy. It is no coincidence that in various spiritual traditions, the calendar was seen as a sacred map, where each month acted as a portal and each cycle as an initiation. At the moment of a person's birth, the world vibrated in a special way. Nature was at a certain stage of its development. Earth, heavens, waters, silence or noise all welcomed them in a unique symbolic language. Perhaps conscious memory has not retained these moments, but the soul remembers everything. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming who one truly is, requires a re-evaluation of the starting point, viewing birth not as a random event, but as a unique calling. It is important to understand that the month of birth does not predetermine a person's destiny, but rather reveals valuable keys to understanding who they are destined to become. In the following sections of this work, we will journey through the 12 months of the year, viewing them as living embodiments of archetypes, as symbolic reflections capable of revealing aspects of the reader's personality that have always been felt but never explained. After all, often the essence lies not in acquiring new knowledge, but in awakening memories of what is originally embedded within us. January and February, when the sun's rays dominate the horizon, warming the skin with their heat, and nature reveals itself in all its splendor, become the cradle for those who come into this world. Summer in the southern hemisphere, representing vitality, abundance, and creative impulse, endows those born under its banner with a special energy of presence. January reveals to us the archetype of the achiever. Carl Jung considered the beginning of each cycle as a moment of will manifestation, and those born in January are typically characterized by purposefulness, activity, and a clear understanding of direction. Among them, there are both modest leaders and bright provocateurs, but they are almost never indifferent. The pain of January lies in agonizing anticipation, in the desire to accelerate events, even when everything around calls for a pause. However, the strength of those born in this month lies in their ability to mobilize, transform ideas into reality, and illuminate paths where others see only fog. February, like a premonition of summer, brings with it a special mood. This is the time when water flows gain freedom, torrential rains saturate the earth, and nature prepares for upcoming changes. A person born in February seems to balance between the element of fire and an unstoppable flow, embodying the archetype of the insightful creator. These people are gifted, perceptive individuals with quick minds and deep feelings. They live, perceiving the world through the prism of heightened sensations, catching hidden meanings, and anticipating what has not yet manifested. As Jung asserted, intuition is one of the purest forms of intelligence, and February vibrations resonate with this frequency. Their vulnerability lies in the difficulty of adapting to routine and predictability. Distraction and emotional instability can be a shadow for them. However, their bright side is a refined genius, an inexhaustible imagination, and the ability to see beauty in the most unexpected places. January is a time of sowing, and February is a time of dreaming. Both months bask in the rays of the high sun, but each teaches how to cope with this light in its own way. Perhaps that is why people born during this period possess such inner strength, but they truly flourish only when they learn to rest without guilt and create without losing themselves in the process. With the arrival of March and April, a foreboding of change is felt. As the sweltering summer fades, autumn inexorably approaches, a time for solitude and self-discovery. As Carl Jung asserted, nature teaches us about cyclicality, reflecting the internal rhythms of the psyche, and the autumn season symbolizes transition, liberation, and maturity. People born in March are endowed with the archetype of the emotional alchemist. They possess the ability to feel deeply, but not to be consumed by the abyss of emotions. Instead, they transform, purify, and transmute them. March is a kind of boundary between summer light and autumn introspection, and those born in this month seem to live at the intersection of these two worlds. They can be expansive and quiet, sunny and contemplative, as if from childhood their soul has learned the lesson that everything in the world is changeable and that beauty lies in impermanence. Their weakness lies in the inability to assert themselves in constant oscillations between extremes. Their strength, however, lies in flexibility, artistic sensitivity, and developed emotional intelligence. April brings with it the freshness of the morning chill and soft autumn lighting. This month is marked by the archetype of the guardian of essence. A person born in April, even without realizing it, feels their purpose, to protect something sacred. This sacred thing can be family, silence, or their own soul. April people value their roots, but at the same time feel the need for change. According to Jung, such individuals live in harmony between structure and freedom, between memory and rebirth. Their vulnerability is the fear of losing control. Their shadow is emotional inflexibility and resistance to the new. Their light is depth, loyalty, and a spiritual vision of perspective. March already feels the breath of the departing summer, while April captures the first whispers of the approaching winter. A person born during this transitional period is endowed with a unique gift, the ability to perceive simultaneously the fading and the birth of new life. May and June form a kind of corridor of solitude. When the summer heat recedes, the foliage falls, and nature plunges into a state of rest, accumulating strength for the upcoming period of self-analysis. Those born at this time learn from an early age to be content with what is necessary. May embodies the archetype of the creator, not striving for external pomp. These are people who realize that everything lasting requires time, patience, and strong roots. They are not attracted to fleeting brilliance, but are touched by the solidity of simple, sincere gestures. As Carl Jung said, true value lies not in what glitters, but in what serves as support, and those born in May, as a rule, become those who support the surrounding world, even remaining unnoticed. Their pain is the feeling of their own invisibility. Their shadow is attachment to predictability and fear of change. Their light is a firm presence, practical wisdom, and boundless generosity. May is the earth, and he who is born on this earth learns to grow, standing firmly on his feet and keeping peace in his heart. June opens the gates to winter. The daylight hours are shortened, it gets colder, and the outside world slows down. Carl Jung argued that this natural movement contributes to immersion in the unconscious, allowing one to see what the mind was not ready to perceive in the summer. Therefore, those born in June often carry the archetype of the guardian of the invisible. These are people who observe more than they speak, feel before they decide, keep secrets, emotions, and visions that they cannot always express in words. June endows with rare symbolic intelligence, the ability to comprehend what is hidden behind the obvious, to see what remains unnoticed by others, to hear the unspoken. Their pain is inner loneliness and a feeling of misunderstanding. Their shadow is excessive isolation and fear of self-disclosure. Their light is sharp intuition, psychic sensitivity, and a vocation for sacred silence. May is the creator, building the new on the ruins of the past, while June, like a seer, captures the approach of impending changes. Both months instruct us that solitude is an integral phase of the life cycle, necessary for the coming rebirth and flourishing. The soul, which appears in this period, does not experience fear of silence. On the contrary, it transforms it into a source of wisdom and deep understanding. July and August are the time when the heart of winter beats in unison with the surrounding nature. Trees, as if preparing for a long sleep, draw into themselves the life juices, and the wind, walking through the deserted streets, calls for deeper self-analysis. It is in moments of slowing down the pace of life that new horizons of perception open up. A person born at this time, from the first moments of life, bears the seal of transforming solitude. July is the archetype of the quiet healer, capable of healing with presence alone. As Carl Jung asserted, the soul is most fully revealed in moments of self-analysis, and July provides an ideal opportunity for this. People born in this month possess heightened intuition and sensitivity, capable of perceiving what remains unnoticed by others and foreseeing future events. They harbor a tenderness that is rarely displayed openly, but manifests in their caring attitude toward the world around them. However, this heightened sensitivity can also become a burden. The primary challenge for those born in July lies in feeling too much without knowing how to manage the influx of emotions. Often they withdraw to avoid troubling others, harboring the pain and suffering of those around them. Yet their luminous side reveals profound empathy, the ability to heal with their mere presence, and intuitive wisdom. July is a soul that warms with its heat during the coldest months of the year, a human warmth spreading in the silence of a winter night. August, in turn, embodies a distinctly different power. In this month, winter's embrace remains firm, yet a subtle foretaste of spring is already palpable in the air. A person born under the sign of August embodies the archetype of the spiritual mentor. These individuals often face significant trials early in life, and these very experiences become the source of their extraordinary strength, the ability to lead by example rather than mere words. As Jung stated, the soul's most profound metamorphoses occur upon encountering its own abyss, and August is intimately familiar with this abyss, knowing how to rise from it. August's pain lies in premature responsibility, its shadow in the pride concealed beneath a mask of strength and the fear of dependence. Its light, however, resides in genuine leadership, quiet courage, and a desire to protect. July accepts, August awakens, and both are endowed with a shared gift, strength forged in silence, light born from the darkest night, and wisdom attainable only through enduring a harsh winter. One born during this time carries a map of transformation within their heart. By flourishing, they transform everything around them like a harbinger of spring without uttering a single word. With the arrival of September and October, the world witnesses a resurgence of light and life. Like nature awakening from its winter slumber, people born during this time possess the potential for flourishing and self-realization. September endows its children with the archetype of the harmonizer, striving for balance and integration. The influential psychologist Carl Jung asserted that the self, in the process of individuation, constantly seeks to unite various aspects of the personality, requiring harmony and balance. Those born in September feel the burden of duality from an early age, torn between reason and emotion, freedom and responsibility, beauty and depth. These individuals possess exceptional aesthetic sensitivity, noticing the smallest details and striving for order in everything. However, their high internal standards and self-demanding nature can become a source of suffering. They are natural mediators, capable of seeing both sides of a coin, even when others do not. Often this leads to misunderstandings from those around them. In their pursuit of harmony, they live in a state of internal tension. Their pain lies in striving for perfection, to earn love and recognition. The shadow side of their personality manifests in concealing their own perezhevania, raди sohranenia mira и spokojstwia. However, the luminous side of those born in September manifests in their sense of justice, refined vision of the world, profound humanity, and ability to restore balance where chaos reigns. September blossoms with beauty, but its true strength lies in its ability to sustain life with tenderness and care. October weaves new shades of sensitivity into the fabric of human existence, bringing with it a powerful magnetism of attachment. A person born under the shadow of this month carries the archetype of the seeker of a kindred spirit, which extends far beyond trivial romance. They strive to see a deep reflection of their own essence in every interaction. As Carl Jung astutely observed, our projections onto others expose those aspects of ourselves that we have not yet realized. October natures experience this process with particular intensity. They possess irresistible charm, charisma, and a gift for love, but at the same time, like few others, they feel the acute pain of rejection and betrayal. Their life is a constant dance between the desire for selflessness and the fear of dissolving within it. Their vulnerability lies in the ability to love too deeply, forgetting about themselves in the process. In the shadow of their nature lies a tendency toward emotional manipulation, dictated by a desire to maintain control. However, their luminous side manifests in the ability to create genuine connections, transform through relationships, and heal emotional wounds through encounters. If September natures strive for harmony, October natures seek depth in relationships. Both birth months coincide with the time when the world blooms anew, making them comparable to vibrant gardens unfolding their beauty. However, like gardens, they require care, as within them, beyond the flowers, lie roots that hold the soul's most intimate stories. November and December are not merely the final chords of the calendar year, they are a unique gateway, marking a period of endings and new beginnings. During this time of year, nature prepares for a new awakening, while the human soul harbors the experiences and lessons of the past months. As Carl Jung stated, completion is not simply the antonym of beginning, but its mature form. A person born during this period possesses a special gift and simultaneously faces a challenging task to manage what is passing into the past and what is just beginning to emerge. November carries the archetype of the profound transformer. This month, when spring reaches its peak, simultaneously heralds the imminent arrival of summer. It is a time of rich, deep colors that have known both warmth and fragility. A person born in November typically possesses a rich inner world, is not content with a superficial view of things, and strives to penetrate to the very essence, into the depths where few dare to look. Such individuals, by their very presence, can initiate change, because where they appear, something inevitably shifts, even in silence and tranquility. Jung noted that such people are driven by a deep understanding of things, but this is also associated with serious trials, the need to cope with losses, rebirths, and partings. The pain lies in the constant feeling of inner division. The shadow side manifests in a desire for emotional control and a fear of trusting others. The light side manifests in the ability to regenerate, heal deep wounds, and accompany others in processes of symbolic death and rebirth. December, like a magician, brings with it a sense of completion and, at the same time, a sparkling hope for the future. It is a month when summaries are made, achievements are celebrated, and wisdom that can only be gained over time is honored. A person born in December stands with one foot in the present and the other already seeing the horizons of the future. These people are expansive and visionary. They maintain faith in the best, no matter what. The archetype of the wandering master lives within them. Carl Jung believed that these souls carry ancient knowledge, but also possess youthful enthusiasm. They are eternal seekers, students of life, guides hiding beneath the mask of dreamers. Their pain is the feeling of being misunderstood and the burden of high expectations. The shadow side of such people manifests in a tendency to run away from problems, distracting themselves with extraneous things and making promises that are difficult to keep. But the light side is generous, radiant wisdom and genuine faith. November delves deep within itself, while December, on the contrary, lights the fires, and together they complete the annual cycle, reminding us of the cyclical nature of the soul, that nothing disappears without a trace, but is only transformed, and that sometimes being born at the end is an opportunity to learn to lead others to new beginnings. Perhaps now it becomes clear that the month of birth is not just a date on the calendar, but a symbol, a call, an archetypal field where the soul decided to incarnate with everything it is destined for: gifts, trials, shadows, and light. Jung taught that each person carries within them an invisible map, and life gains meaning when we learn to read this map with the eyes of the soul. Time is not just a series of events, it is a mirror. And when a person becomes aware of the symbolic atmosphere of their birth, something within them falls into the correct order, as if an ancient part of their being finally says, "Now you have heard me." The truth of life lies in the fact that each person's appearance in the world is not a simple coincidence. There is a higher purpose, like a call that brings us into this world at the most appropriate moment. Each of us arrives on a unique frequency to share what only we have, what the world desperately needs. Perhaps until today someone has felt alienated, as if they did not fit into the overall picture, but perhaps this is precisely their true purpose, not to conform to standards, but to awaken their memory, to remember what their soul has long known, to feel the rhythm that vibrates within, and to remember the time of year when they were born, because it still pulsates in their being. They are not just January, March, August, or November. They are that very breath that came with them, the link between heaven and earth in that sacred moment. And if they felt it even for a moment, then they have begun to listen to what has been dormant inside. After all, the month of their birth is just a starting point in a great conversation. The most beautiful part of this story is how he will use this knowledge now, what actions he will take to unlock his potential and contribute to the world.